Pay close attention to your video. When was a couple walking together? They go to a clothing store. The woman said she was very happy that the man was there and hugged him. At that moment, she seizes the opportunity and takes the wallet from the man who was in her back pocket. That surprised me. He asked what was going on and she said she wanted his money, but when she saw that she didn't have anything in her wallet, she asked what that meant. He reveals to the woman that the truth was that he didn't have any money left and that he needed the woman to help him so he could get back on his feet. The woman says that she would never stand next to a man who had no money. She says she needed a man who could buy everything she wanted. Just then, another man arrives and asks if they were okay. The woman says she wasn't well because her boyfriend didn't have the money to buy a dress she wanted. The man tells her to be patient and he would buy her that dress at the right time, but she tells him to shut up. The other man then tells the woman that if she wanted, he could buy her anything she wanted. She then tells the man that this was the right way to treat a woman. She then asks another man what a woman needed to do to be by his side. He says that not much was needed and that he just asked his partners to be faithful. She says she really liked what he had said and then they leave. The man asks where his girlfriend was going and she says she didn't want to be with a loser like him. Later, they were at the clothing store and the woman asked another man if that dress was pretty. He says that everything looked very beautiful on her, which makes her very happy. She thanks him for the compliment and the other man said that if she wanted to, he could buy her anything she wanted. Meanwhile, the man was watching everything they were doing outside the store. She picks up another dress and asks if the other man liked that dress and he says yes and that she could buy whatever she wants. She gets very excited about it and goes up to the other man to give him a hug, telling him that she loved him very much. She asks if she could really buy as many dresses as she wanted and he said yes, which makes her very happy. As they were leaving the store, the woman asked if she really needed to come back another time to pick up the dress and the other man said yes. At that moment, they pass by the man, who walks up to her and asks if she would really abandon him. She says yes because she wanted a rich man by her side, but he asks her to think about the history they had together. She says she never wanted to see the man again and leaves. Later, they pass by another clothing store and the woman says that she was very happy and that she wanted to steal more dresses. The other man tells her she could go into the store and buy as many as she wanted. At that moment, he receives a call and says that he was with the woman. He says that she had no idea what would happen to her and at that moment she comes back. She asks who the man was talking to and he starts to get desperate. She said he looked weird and he said she had found out he was preparing a surprise for her. This makes her very excited and she asks about what a surprise it was. He says that it was a big surprise and that she would never forget that day. The woman is extremely excited about this and says that she loved men who made surprises for her. She hugs the man and then he says she needs to settle some matters. He tells her to keep buying the dresses and that he will be back soon. As the other man was leaving, he sees the man and asks him what he was doing there. He throws some bills at the man and asks if he wanted money. The woman goes to him and wonders what the man was doing there. He tries to say something to her, but she says she never wants to see him again and tells him to leave. Later, he arrived at the other man's house. He tells her she was welcome in his home. She says that his house was very beautiful, but he says that now that house was theirs. She then asked if she could ask him something and he said yes. She says she always dreamed of marrying a man like him and he said that if she wanted to, they could marry at that moment. That makes her very excited more. She says she needed to settle a lot of issues to make it to the wedding. She said that it was not possible for this to happen at that time and that they needed to wait a while. He then tells her that she could do whatever she wanted and she told her that he was the man she had always dreamed of marrying. The man says she was the woman he had always dreamed of. She then tells him he needed to go to the bathroom and he says he didn't need to rush to get back. While she was away, the man calls someone else again and he starts saying that the woman didn't suspect anything that was going to happen to her. He says their plan would work and then hangs up the phone. Meanwhile, the woman was in the bathroom, smearing lipstick on her lips. She was saying that the other man had fallen into her trap and that she would never fall in love with a man like him. She told him that all she had to do now was take care of the marriage and that then she would keep all the money he had. She said that she would do to another man the same thing that she had done to the man, for when she met him he was also very rich, but now he had nothing left. Hearing this, the other man starts laughing and says that the woman was thinking he fell into her trap, but that she didn't know who she was messing with. Later, she was coming downstairs and was calling for the other man, but he wouldn't answer her call. She then notices that on the table there was a folder with some documents and went to her to see what she had, but at that moment he appears and tells her not to do that. She apologizes and says she was just curious about the documents. He then says that the truth was that those documents were a surprise to her. This makes her very excited and he tells her that soon she will know what was in those documents and then tells them to go to the bedroom. Later, as the man was getting up, he looks at the woman, who was still sleeping. He then starts yelling at her, telling her that she needs to get out of the house immediately, but she can't understand why he's talking to her like that. He told her that he needed to settle some matters and that she needed to get out of the house, but she asked him why he had changed the way he treated her so quickly. He again says that he wants her to leave his house and never come back. She asks him if that was all he wanted from her and he says he needed her to leave. They were then going downstairs, but the woman asked him to calm down, but he said he would never leave her alone at his house. He tells her to get out of his house, but she says she needs to get her things first. He then tells her that she didn't have anything in that house, but she says that her dresses were there. He then tells her that she had bought those dresses with his money and so she didn't own them. He says that now he would keep those dresses and give them to another woman. She then asked him why he was treating her that way and he said that the truth was that he had only used her to satisfy his desires. He said he was going to take care of some things with his car, so when he came back, he didn't want her to be there. When the other man leaves, she begins to cry, thinking about what she was going to do now that she had no one else to take care of her. At that moment, she realizes that there was another man nearby and she goes to him. She realizes that this man seemed to be very rich and says that she could try to win him over. She goes to the man and asks if he could help her, as the other man had stolen her clothes and now she had nothing left. The man asks her if she knew who this other man was and why he did it. She says he was very furious as she didn't want to marry him and now he had stolen her clothes. At that moment, the other man gets out of the car and tells the man that it was a lie. She is surprised by this, asks what was going on there and the other man reveals that this man was actually her boss. She then asks what the man was doing there and says she didn't understand what was going on. The other man then hands the man the car keys and documents he had asked for. The woman then asks the man why he said he didn't have any more money. The other man then reveals that all that money, that house, and that car were actually his boss's. The man says that the reason for all this was to know how far the woman would go and if she really loved him. She then says that she had seen a man in the gutter not long ago and he says that it was all a plan for him to be able to find true love. He says he needed to find a woman who would be by his side because he loved him and not because of the money he had. She then asked him why he lied, but the other man said she was just a gold digger. The man said that the woman was so self-interested that she didn't even try to look at the documents that were in that folder. She says that it was not necessary for her to see the documents as she was a new person and that she wanted to be by the man's side. The other man then tells his boss that the woman was a liar, but the woman says that the man couldn't believe the other man. He then tells her that if she had read those documents she would have seen her real financial situation. He then says that if only she had gone to those documents, they might have been getting married at that moment, but she only cared about appearances. She then tells them she was an idiot and asks them to start over. She said that she had become a different person and that she wanted to be with a man, but he said it was too late as he didn't want to be with her anymore. She then tells the man that she wanted to stay by his side and that she would be a great wife to him as she would take care of him very well. He then tells her that people like her were very easy to fool and that she was fooled. He says that she had just missed out on a great opportunity to be with a rich person and that he wanted to take care of her, but she preferred to be with someone else. He then tells his employee that they need to leave.